a very good morning to the respected judges, honorable teachers, and my fellow friends. When we hear the word education, most of us immediately think of classrooms, textbooks, exams, and assignments. Some of us think of waking up early in the morning, some of us think of heavy school bags, and some of us think of one very important question every student has asked at least once in their life. Is this going to be in the exam? But today, I want us to look at education from a wider perspective because the theme of my speech today is education beyond the classroom. What is education really? If we define education only as getting good grades, then education becomes very limited. But in reality, education is not just about memorizing facts or passing exams. Education is the process of learning how to think, how to understand, and how to grow as a person. It teaches us how to solve problems, how to communicate, and how to make decisions in real life because once we leave school, life does not give us exam papers. Life gives us situations, and in those situations, we don't get multiple choice answer. We have to think, decide, and act. Education in today's world, we are living in a very different time compared to the past. Today, information is everywhere. If we don't know something, we can search it in seconds. We can watch videos, read articles, or even use AI tools to explain some complex topics. So this raises an important question. If information is so available, what is the real purpose of education now? Well, the answer is not education is not just about giving information. The purpose of education today is to help us understand information, to teach us how to think critically, not just accept everything we see, because not everything we read online is true, and not everything that sounds right actually is right. Learning is more than memorizing. Many students, including myself at times, tend to focus on memorizing for exam. We study to remember answers, not necessarily to understand them deeply, but real learning is different. For example, we might forget a formula after an exam, but the skill of solving problems stay with us. We might forget a definition, but the way we think about a problem remains. That is the real value of education. It stays with us even after we forget the content. Skill that schools doesn't always teach directly. Schools teach us subjects like mathematics, science, English, and history, and these are very important. But there are also other skills that we learn indirectly. For example, group project teach us teamwork. Deadline teach us time management. Presentation teach us communication and confidence. Even mistake teach us resilience. We may not notice it at first, but this experience shape who we become. It is also what we experience in school life every day. So, education is not only what is written in textbooks. If we are honest, most students are familiar with group projects. Every class usually has different types of students. There are those who lead, those who contribute actively, and sometimes those who appear only at the end. But even in those situations and moments, we learn something important. What do we learn? We learn responsibility. We learn patience. We learn how to manage different personalities. And sometimes we learn how to complete work under pressure. These are real life skills that we will carry beyond school. Grades aren't everything. In schools, grades are often seen as the main measure of success. And yes, grades are important because they reflect effort and understanding. But they are not only measure of a person. A report card does not show kindness. It does not show creativity. It does not show leadership or emotional strength. It does not show how many times a student tried again after failing. In real life process, people are not judged only by numbers. They are judged by characters, attitude, and actions. This is why education should develop both intelligence and character. Failure is part of education. One important part of education that is often misunderstood is failure. Many students fear failure because it feels like the end. Even myself, I admit, I am very scared of being a failure. But in reality, failure is part of learning. Not only failing, but failure also means we keep on trying again. Nobody becomes good at something without making mistakes first. We learn by trying, failing, and trying again. If we avoid failure completely, we also avoid growth. That is why, instead of seeing failure as something negative, we should see it as feedbacks. It tells us what we need to improve. Education should prepare us for life. At the end of the day, education should prepare us for life, not just exams. Life requires more than memorization. It requires problem solving, communications, teamwork, and emotional intelligence. It requires the ability to adapt when things change, and most importantly, it requires the ability to keep on learning, because learning does not stop after school. It continues throughout our lives. So when we talk about educations beyond the classroom, we are not rejecting school learning, we are expanding its meaning. Education is not about what happens during lessons. It is also about what happens when we apply those lessons in our real life. It is about becoming someone who can think, adapt, and contribute in our society. So let us not focus only on studying to pass the exams. Let us focus on learning to understand the world, because at the end of the day, school may give us knowledge, but life teaches us how to use it. Thank you, everyone. That's all from me.